What happens when global friendships collapse overnight? In 2025, it's not just sanctions or harsh words, it's diplomatic divorces. And the fallout is massive. More than a dozen U.S. consulates across Europe are facing closure due to budget cuts, according to a 2025 New York Times leak, leaving countries scrambling to adjust. U.S. defense aid is shrinking, ambassadors are being expelled, and allies? They're walking away. This isn't just diplomatic drama, it's a full-scale geopolitical retreat. And for 10 countries, the break is already happening. Let's count down the 10 countries that just cut ties with America. And trust us, number 1 will shock you. Starting with a country that quietly slipped out of America's orbit while no one was watching. Before we move on, hit the like button to boost this video in the algorithm and support our work. Number 10, Niger. For over a decade, the U.S. saw Niger as a vital counterterrorism ally in West Africa. That partnership came to an abrupt halt after a military coup in July 2023, when Niger's new ruling junta demanded all U.S. troops leave the country. By August 2024, the withdrawal was complete, ending America's strategic presence in one of the most volatile regions in Africa. The implications were massive. The U.S. had invested in drone bases, special forces deployments, and regional training, all now dismantled. The Wall Street Journal reported that this pullback left a security vacuum, with other powers like Russia eyeing the opportunity to expand influence. According to U.S. Africa Command, the United States has completed its withdrawal from Niger, marking a symbolic and strategic retreat. The loss of trust and presence not only affects anti-terror operations, but weakens America's diplomatic footprint in the Sahel region. Niger's pivot also signals a broader regional realignment. Local populations, fed up with Western intervention, are pushing leaders to seek new alliances, and the U.S. is no longer welcome. As American boots leave the ground, so does its influence. The silence from Washington only underscores how fast things are changing. Number 9, Brazil. Brazil has taken a bold step in 2025 that few Americans saw coming. On April 10th, the Brazilian government officially reinstated visa requirements for U.S. citizens, ending a 6-year waiver that once made travel to South America a breeze. Now, American visitors must provide documentation including bank statements and letters of intent, plus pay a $160 visa fee, making casual trips a lot more complicated. Why the reversal? According to Brazil's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it was a matter of reciprocity. While Brazil had waived visas for Americans since 2019, the U.S. never offered the same in return. In an era of growing diplomatic assertiveness, Brazil made it clear, if Washington won't extend the courtesy, neither will they. The deeper story, however, goes beyond paperwork. This policy change arrives amidst growing trade friction and diplomatic chill between the two nations. Some analysts see it as symbolic of Brazil distancing itself from U.S. influence, particularly as its economic ties with China and Russia deepen. The U.S. Embassy in Brasilia released a statement acknowledging the change, but expressed disappointment, stating that the decision complicates bilateral relations and people-to-people exchanges. It's a quiet but clear sign that Brazil is reasserting sovereignty on its own terms. As the U.S. continues navigating complex global rivalries, policies like Brazil's signal that even longtime partners are willing to pull back. And it's not just symbolic. It could impact tourism, trade, and diplomatic cooperation in the years ahead. Before we dive into the next country, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Your support helps us shine a light on the stories others ignore and bring truth to the surface. The more you back us, the further we go. Join the mission. Number 8, Mali. In a geopolitical move that shocked much of the West, Mali and Burkina Faso exited the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, on January 29, 2025. The three nations, now known as the Alliance of Sahel States, are signaling an unmistakable shift away from Western influence, particularly from the United States. What prompted this break? Leaders cited ECOWAS sanctions and Western meddling as unacceptable intrusions into national sovereignty. In reality, these nations are leaning into military rule and pursuing stronger ties with Russia and China, placing them directly at odds with U.S.-led diplomatic norms. The United States had long supported ECOWAS initiatives in the Sahel for counterterrorism and development. But with the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Niger in 2024 and diplomatic tensions escalating, the alliance's formation seems to close the door on future American partnerships in the region. Western analysts are particularly concerned about the security vacuum this creates. The Sahel is one of the world's most unstable regions, And without U.S. cooperation, extremist groups may find new opportunities to grow. As these nations forge ahead without ECOWAS or U.S. backing, they stand as a warning. When American influence falters, others are ready to step in. And in 2025, the Sahel is rapidly becoming a proving ground for that global realignment. Number 7. South Sudan. In April 2025, the United States signaled a possible shutdown of its embassy in South Sudan due to escalating instability and internal review of diplomatic priorities. Experts warned that such a move would dramatically reduce Washington's presence in the region, signaling cooling ties. The report from Radio Tamazouj emphasized the potential diplomatic vacuum it would leave behind. This isn't just about bureaucratic logistics. The U.S. Embassy plays a critical role in humanitarian coordination and regional diplomacy. If it closes, it marks a significant retreat in American influence within East Africa, creating openings for rival powers. South Sudan is no stranger to international disengagement. Years of internal conflict and governance failures have frustrated foreign partners. Many aid agencies have scaled back, citing safety concerns and governmental restrictions. The possible embassy closure reflects broader fatigue in Washington regarding prolonged foreign engagement without tangible progress. Diplomatic bandwidth is shrinking, and South Sudan may fall off the U.S. radar as a result. If finalized, this move would symbolize more than a budgetary adjustment. It would mark another U.S. retreat from a region once considered vital to long-term strategic goals. Number 6. Colombia. On May 1, 2024, Colombia shocked the global diplomatic scene by severing ties with Israel over the war in Gaza. Although directed at Israel, the move raised eyebrows in Washington, signaling a shift in how Colombia engages with U.S. allies. President Gustavo Petro's decision suggests a broader departure from traditional Western alignments. The implications extend beyond symbolism. Colombia has long been considered one of the U.S.'s closest partners in Latin America, especially on security cooperation. This foreign policy pivot could jeopardize that status. What concerns analysts most is the ideological undertone. Petro has increasingly criticized U.S. foreign policy, and aligning with countries opposing Western influence could strain bilateral relations. Some worry this could trickle down into reduced military collaboration and economic friction. While no formal fallout with Washington has occurred, the change in tone is undeniable. Colombia's distancing from Israel sends a message to the international community, and the U.S. is paying attention. This shift highlights a Latin America that is more willing to challenge traditional alliances. Colombia's recalibration might be the start of a broader regional realignment. Number 5. Bolivia. Bolivia made headlines in November 2023 when it officially cut diplomatic ties with Israel, citing the Gaza conflict as the main reason. While this decision was aimed at Israel, it signals a broader ideological shift that aligns Bolivia with anti-Western blocs. For the U.S., this move raises concerns about the erosion of influence in Latin America, particularly in countries historically open to multiple alliances. Bolivia's distancing is more than just symbolism. The country has long-standing criticisms of U.S. foreign policy, especially concerning interventions and sanctions across Latin America. This latest decision adds another layer of tension, especially as Bolivia strengthens relationships with nations like Iran and Russia. With Luis Arce's administration embracing a more independent foreign policy, Washington's ability to engage with La Paz has weakened. The absence of a U.S. ambassador in Bolivia since 2008 reflects the lingering diplomatic chill. And while economic ties are modest, the political implications of Bolivia turning its back on key U.S. allies are significant. A study from the Council on Hemispheric Affairs notes Bolivia's increasing economic partnerships with China and Venezuela. These developments could indicate a long-term reorientation away from U.S. influence. As global alliances shift, Bolivia's stance may embolden other nations in the region to take similar actions. In the current geopolitical climate, every severed tie sends a message, and for the U.S., Bolivia's action is one more sign of waning dominance in its own hemisphere. Number 4. Nicaragua. In October 2024, Nicaragua severed diplomatic ties with Israel, declaring solidarity with the Palestinian people during the Gaza war. While not directly cutting ties with the U.S., this move signals a deeper alignment with countries opposed to Washington's global policies. Nicaragua has consistently taken an anti-U.S. stance in international forums, and this latest action only deepens that divide. President Daniel Ortega's government has long criticized U.S. sanctions and what it calls imperialist interference. Breaking ties with Israel is seen as a symbolic rejection of U.S. influence, given the strong U.S.-Israel alliance. It also aligns Nicaragua more closely with nations like Iran, Venezuela, and Russia. This diplomatic pivot has ripple effects. U.S. aid to Nicaragua has already been reduced in recent years due to concerns about human rights and governance. Further isolation could lead Nicaragua to deepen its economic and military ties with non-Western powers, complicating U.S. strategy in the region. According to the Brookings Institution, Nicaragua's growing ties with authoritarian regimes make it a potential flashpoint in future geopolitical conflicts. The move away from the West isn't just about ideology, it's about survival and leverage on the global stage. As the U.S. watches allies drift or defect, Nicaragua stands out as a clear example of a country charting a different course, and doing so loudly. Number 3. Algeria. Algeria's relationship with the U.S. is becoming more fragile, following a sharp diplomatic fallout in March 2025 with the Alliance of Sahel States. The trigger? Algeria shot down a Malian military drone that allegedly entered its airspace, an act that escalated into a diplomatic firestorm across North and West Africa. What started as a border incident spiraled into a regional standoff with expelled ambassadors, flight bans, and rising tensions. While the immediate confrontation involved Mali, the implications extend much further. The Alliance of Sahel States, formed by Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, is increasingly distancing itself from Western influence, and Algeria's reaction solidifies its pivot toward more autonomous or regional alignments. For the U.S., this means less strategic access and influence in North Africa. The U.S. has long counted on Algeria as a stabilizing force in the region. However, the drone incident exposed fault lines in that partnership. Algeria's refusal to apologize and its call for greater African sovereignty signals a shift in alliances that could undermine Western diplomatic leverage. According to the Associated Press, the drone incident spiraled into a diplomatic crisis involving border disputes, expelled ambassadors, and suspended air routes. With each move, Algeria redefines its stance, inching further from traditional partners. If tensions escalate further, the U.S. risks losing a key security and energy interlocutor in a volatile region. Algeria may not sever ties completely, but it's made clear it no longer answers to Washington. Number 2. Iran. Iran has long had one of the most adversarial relationships with the U.S., and 2025 is no exception. Washington continues to warn Americans against traveling to Iran, citing the ongoing risk of arbitrary arrest and prolonged detention. The lack of diplomatic ties only deepens the chasm, with no U.S. embassy on the ground to assist citizens in crisis. Tensions between the two countries have only worsened over issues like nuclear development, regional influence in the Middle East, and recent military posturing. Iran remains a potent player in the region, forging stronger ties with U.S. rivals like Russia and China. The hostility isn't just political. It manifests in restricted access, intelligence surveillance, and the targeting of dual nationals. For American citizens, even innocent travel can become a legal trap. Reports of detainees being held without due process or transparency are not uncommon. According to the U.S. Department of State, U.S. citizens should not travel to Iran due to the risk of kidnapping and arbitrary arrest and detention. That blunt warning underscores how dire the situation remains. Iran has proven time and again that it will not yield to American pressure or diplomacy. It's not just pulling away, it's actively slamming the door shut. Number 1. North Korea. North Korea has long stood as one of the most isolated nations in the world, and 2025 has only solidified that stance. Since September 2017, U.S. passports have been invalid for travel to North Korea without special validation. This restriction is rooted in the serious risk of arrest and long-term detention of U.S. citizens by the North Korean regime. The U.S. Department of State continues to issue a Level 4, Do Not Travel Advisory, warning that Americans who enter North Korea do so at their own extreme risk. There are no U.S. diplomatic or consular services available in the country, making it nearly impossible to assist citizens in emergencies. The lack of formal relations means even simple travel becomes a bureaucratic maze of danger and uncertainty. North Korea's decision to remain closed off goes beyond tourism. In 2025, satellite imagery and international intelligence reports confirmed Pyongyang's ongoing missile testing and military buildup, fueling global tension. American citizens are not just unwelcome, they're viewed as potential bargaining chips in a high-stakes geopolitical game. Despite periodic diplomatic overtures, the U.S.-North Korea relationship remains deeply fractured. Engagements have stalled, and the regime has intensified its rhetoric against Washington. Travel restrictions are just one facet of a broader, entrenched hostility. According to the U.S. Department of State, U.S. passports are invalid for travel to, in, or through North Korea unless specially validated for such travel under the authority of the Secretary of State. In short, unless something dramatically shifts in global diplomacy, North Korea will continue to shut out American travelers indefinitely. From broken alliances to reinstated visa barriers, the world in 2025 is redrawing its lines, and many of them no longer include Americans. Whether driven by geopolitics, public sentiment, or economic retaliation, these countries are making it loud and clear. The era of automatic access and diplomatic ease is over. For U.S. travelers, these changes are more than inconvenient. They're a wake-up call. As international dynamics shift, Americans must adjust their expectations and rethink their global footprint. Staying informed and prepared is no longer optional. It's essential. Which country surprised you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more eye-opening global updates. We've got more explosive stories coming your way, so stay tuned.